The world feels a bit toxic and blah these days, doesn't it? The same old people coming up with the same old solutions for big problems that still don't work. We need to change the game. Well, welcome to Women Advancing. Join me, host Kate Byrne, in this dynamic bi-weekly podcast, bringing together female founders, funders, and thought leaders. Listen to the people driving change, how they got there, how you can help, and yep, how you might just be the next one to advance. Proof that all ships rise with women at the helm. That's what happens when Women Advance with Kate Byrne. Some founders launch a product. Megan Riggs? Nah, that wasn't enough. She launched a vibe. On this episode of Women Advancing, I sit down with Megan, who is the wild-hearted, purpose-driven CEO and founding force behind Crunchy Hydration, a brand that's equal parts sparkling water, spiritual groundedness, gotta get my juju in there, and the entire let's disrupt the wellness industry while I'm at it. We're going to talk about trusting your gut while still running a business that scales, not always easy. How wellness, though, can be easy. It can be as simple as taking a beat and a breath. How to stay rooted when the branding and the funding and the whole industry just gets way too extra and so chaotic. And what it actually takes to build a brand with a soul and not just shelf space. Seriously, it's one of the most vulnerable conversations that the founder story is. And I'm just feeling so fortunate that she shares it with us. Let's listen. I've been looking forward to this conversation since we agreed to do it. World of Women Advancing, please meet Megan Riggs, founder and CEO of Crunchy Hydration, and probably one of the biggest ray of sunshine, I would say, in the whole female founder space. That's a big statement, but you'll see. She will definitely live up to it. Megan, welcome.
Thanks for having me. Maybe it's because I wear a new, fun, bright sundress every day, so that helps.
That's always a plug in the right thing. And I really wanted us to have this conversation because just with summer coming, so really excited to have the conversation, given that the weather is finally shifting to hot and heat. But you don't need hot and heat to drink Crunchy Hydration products. I should fix that thinking. But let's talk a little bit about you and how did you even start doing this?
It originally started, born and raised in Virginia Beach, went to University of Virginia, then moved out to California. I was like, let's go. Awesome opportunity with this global training company. And from the outside looking in, like, oh my gosh, she's doing amazing, XYZ. But for the first time in my life, seriously started to struggle with anxiety and depression. And it just reached a point in life, everything was seemingly right from like society standards, but, I could barely get out of bed. And it reached a low point of just not wanting to live anymore. And so I realized I needed to take drastic measures. So I gave away everything I owned, moved to Thailand, and I was like, I'm going to address this head on, figure out, what's causing the root cause of the issue, and, also live a simpler life. So I would go to this little juice shop and smoothie shop every day on my way to teach English. And I had nothing, like a backpack. I was living on a couple dollars a day, and it was the happiest I had been. I remember calling my sister and I was like, I'm never leaving. I'm opening up a juice shop in Thailand. And then, fast forward, I was like, just kidding. I miss my family. I'm moving back to Virginia and I'm going to do it here. So I started with Crunchy Carrot, which, I had no money at the time, a really terrible juicer when I started. So it was a little crunchy, a little bit of there. Smashed up some almonds in the first one, carrot juice. But then it evolved and became this community that we were building of, more than just juice, more than just a beverage. It was living with intention and mindfulness, even in the simple moments of hydrating and drinking, juice or water. So Crunchy started, it's a lifestyle, not a texture, but it started with a texture.
I love that line, lifestyle, not a texture.
Yeah.
I got to ask, so the name, it's original crunchy ingredients. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it started with the cold pressed juices. So my first one was a carrot, ginger, turmeric, and some smashed almonds. It was kind of weird, but people loved it. And then realized that business wasn't scalable. And every day through the juice business, I was having conversations with people about the different adaptogens and nootropics, like L-theanine is in all of our beverages. And I was just telling people about this every day. They're like, hey, I'm eating healthy, I'm working out, but I'm still struggling with anxiety and stress. Obviously, we're all stressed, and depression.
Right.
So I would tell them all the things. And I was like, you know what? Why don't I put it in a water that's way more scalable? And it was there was a gap in the market. And so it was just very like organically blessed from the start. But yeah,
So that's when you probably were like, oh my God, wow, whoops, I'm actually building a beverage company and not just kind of some hobby little fun fix.
yeah. I mean, it started with me crafting it like a mad scientist in my kitchen. And then next thing I know, we're partnering with Pharrell for something in the water, and Whole Foods had reached out. And I was like, all right, let's do it.
So I know that's such a competitive realm. And it also, the RTD, ready to drink, all that I know has taken off. And there's huge, huge egos and it gets noisy. I could imagine that would also potentially amp up anxiety. So how do you live and stay like, woo, zen in that realm when it's so noisy and so competitive?
That is a great question. And as I would go to these beverage conferences, and it's so easy to feel that imposter syndrome or see other people that have started businesses that they've raised $50 million dollars and they're, seems like they're doing way better. And I would feel weird at these conferences, like I was not enough or I wasn't actually like, doing it right. And I had to come back to, and it would cause stress. Like growing a business is stressful. Like,
Yeah, no kidding.
LOL, I started a business to help with stress and anxiety, and it's causing stress.
And it's causing quadruple the stress I had before. Better drink really good product. Oh, how about my own?
Yeah, I drink like 3 of them a day. So I would say that I am constantly working on. Like all of us are constantly working on like how do we feel worthy and that we're doing enough. And for me, it starts with a very simple morning routine and just and I've started to write down the wins. Like write down what you're grateful for, write down what, you accomplished because you do so much in a day and a week that it's easy to forget and focus on the negative. And so your brain can't think of both positive and negative at the same time or be anxious if you're thinking about positivity and gratitude. So I'm just like, all right, come back to that gratitude. And it's simplifying what you're doing day to day. We're overstimulated with information and things you should be doing and diets and supplements. And I'm like, this is what I do. I drink this and I take a moment and I take a breath.
Those two things, taking a beat, taking a breath.
Amen.
Right? It's amazing the impact of that. And I know you also use a lot of intention and intuition. So how do you balance all that when you've got investors who are going, okay, hard numbers, what's going on? How do you contend with that?
I would say, one's on this shoulder, one's on the other shoulder. They're partners and they work together. So I find the opportunities with my intuition. Like I listen to my gut and then I confirm the decisions with data. And I've been heavily leaning on to more market research and like guiding those bigger decisions with data and science, especially when it comes to ingredients and expanding operations and production and new opportunities in grocery stores. Like you have to evaluate the numbers. What is it going to cost to launch
Right.
nationally in Kroger? That's going to take a lot of money. Like, do we want to do that first or do we want to do Whole Foods? Like, you can't do it all. But I listen to my gut when it comes to, actually, I didn't listen to my gut recently. We were going to launch a ginger peach flavor. And I'm like, I don't really like ginger peach. And we went forward. I had formulated it. And then we did market research on most popular flavors. And that one came in last. And I was like, all right, should have listened to my gut. And I can't tell you the new flavor, but we're launching the new flavor that I've been wanting to do. And I should have done from the start.
Exciting, but that's a great thing because I was gonna actually ask, like, what's been one of the biggest internal growth moments as a founder that you've had? Kind of walking into this, your own solution in this own realm, but then it just all of a sudden becomes kind of this seismic shift, and the world is now looking at healthy drinking, et cetera, et cetera. And it sounds like that's one, definitely listening to gut.
Yeah, definitely. Like, and so often we ignore our gut. And as, someone that has to report to investors, I want to just hit the milestones and do the right things. But at the end of the day, most of those decisions, I knew what I should have done and I had to fail first to figure it out. And now I'm like, all right, so team, raise your hand when you have something in your gut. Let's talk about it. Giving that power to the team as well, like not just thinking I've got to do it all was a big shift as well.
I bet. And I could see how, for a lot of people who are listening, you think it's an easy thing. Oh, yeah, delegation. It's really not, especially in this kind of situation, especially when you're used to having done it all by yourself.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's just kind of a weird, not a power shift, but I guess, I suppose in a little bit it is.
But it's cool when you do let go and let people shine and run with their strengths that aren't your strengths, and you are working double, the hours to do what they're even better at.
Yes. And I think that is such a huge wisdom moment, just not only as a founder, but as a person. When you realize, and it's such a gift to a team, when you realize, hey, you know what? I don't know all the answers. I don't have to know all the answers. That's why all of us are around. And we can either use these two hands, or we can use all 8 hands that we bring.
Yeah.
So what makes most sense? But I got to ask you, have you ever felt kind of pressure to show up in a certain way as a female founder in the wellness space? Especially you've got your starting in the training thing and all of that. And if you did, how did you sort of resist or reshape it and own it, take it, make it your own?
Yeah, that's also a good question because you see, these what it should be as a female founder, and you got to be even stronger and this boss babe, or you're on the other side of like, well, because I'm crunchy, I have to be like so crunchy and I can't have a glass of wine, or I got to be super.
That's a health nut.
Yeah, like, and people are like, "Oh my gosh, you're doing that?" And I'm like, "Yes, like we're redefining what crunchy or owning a business looks like." And so staying grounded in why you're doing what you're doing and being authentic to yourself. Like, yeah, I could be a boss babe, but I could also, do absolutely nothing on Saturday.
Right. And both, honestly, both are what help make you well, right?
100%.
Or they hydrate you, as play on the word hydrate.
Yeah.
But
And it's so
yeah,
much more than what does hydration mean? And it's not just about water or a beverage. It's like fueling every part of you and listening to what needs to be nourished, like nourishing from the inside out, whether that's rest or maybe you do need to work all day on a Saturday to feel better. And it's like, it's not work-life balance, it's a harmony within yourself.
that's a beautiful way of putting it, because I've heard work life choice, but I think that's true. It's the harmony. It's what's going to make you feel okay at the end of the day.
Yeah. Like my COO, Heather, I was like, she loves working on the weekends. And, sometimes I would feel this guilt that I wasn't working as much as her. And she was like, it makes me feel better to do some stuff and fire off emails on a Sunday. But you have 3 stepkids now and like spend time with them and be present or you're going to regret working 7 days a week.
Well, yeah. So I got to ask, we were talking with one of your investors, Dan Myers, and we were talking about as a founder,
Not an investor, but if you want to invest, Dan, and you're listening to this,
Dan, listen, invest. We will change that. Okay. But I remember we were talking about one of the overwhelming things is one, knowing your numbers, really important. I can't say that enough. But two, also figuring out what are the levers, what are the ones that matter the most to you? Like, what are the indicators?
Yeah, I would say since my first time like getting mentored by Dan, he just drilled me like on every single number and that it shift my mindset every day. I've, started to think about every single number because for us knowing, Whole Foods last month increased 30%, Kroger increased 20%,
Right.
direct to consumer has, nearly 200%, and knowing the numbers that we weren't looking at lifetime value or customer repeat purchase rate. It was just like how many cans are being sold. And it's still kind of the same data, but how you're analyzing the data.
Right. Right. And how it's shifting. Well, so what's the worst advice you've gotten about growing a business? And what would you say instead? Because I'm sure you've gotten a lot.
I would say probably, just raise more money, raise, every other beverage brand is 25 million to 200 million, just raise more money. And obviously in the beverage world, you do need money to grow, but I've taken a crunchy approach, if you will, and sustainable growth, like
Right.
comparing ourselves to a Liquid Death because we're building a sustainable, profitable brand that we can then pull more levers once we have more data and have a serious loyal customer cult, if you will.
And that's what I wanted to shift into a little bit too, is that whole role of community that you've kind of got. Talk a little bit about that and the role that that's played.
Well, community is everything. We were just messaging with people in the community about this partner event we're doing on Wednesday night through Team Yellow, which is one of Pharrell's nonprofits and, helps education in the school systems and just a great organization. And that is like, I would not be here without the community. I talk about it in everything that I do. If you're starting a business, if you are a founder, don't do it alone. Like, raise your hand, accept help. And this ecosystem in Virginia is unreal. There are so many resources and knowledgeable, people that want to help. Like when I did the 757 Accelerate, we were one of 2 companies that were local, and everyone else just couldn't believe it. They're like, what's the catch? We're like, no, literally everyone just wants to help, and you get paid to go through this program.
Which is fantastic. So as Crunchy grows, which it is, how do you protect the very heart of what made it special in the first place? Because it really is, it's got a very distinctive vibe, and there's you. So how do you protect that? Because you talk about sustainable growth, which I totally understand and I get. But how do you keep that part, that which keeps, I would guess maybe it's unique. That's what makes it different, right? So how do you keep that safe?
I would say every day coming back to the mission and why we do it. So our mission is to improve mental and physical health through mindful hydration. And everyone that we partner with, like whether it's supporting a nonprofit that's, helping educate children because that's going to change the trajectory of their mental health and physical health and sustainable food. So yeah, it's every single day we talk about our mission, and that's how we try to live, like from the decisions we make to the partners we partner with to investors we bring on. Like we've said no to people or events or stuff because it just doesn't align, or, you want to say yes. Like the more you grow, the more people reach out to you like, hey, do you want to be a part of this event? There's going to be 5,000 people. And if it doesn't align, like it's really hard to say no.
That's what I was going to ask. So are there specific things you look at in terms of, because I guarantee you people are going to listen to this and are going to think, oh my gosh, I want to partner with them, or I want to be a part of them. I want to kind of get a little of that halo effect that you all bring to anyone with whom you partner. What are the things that you're looking for when you are deciding, yeah, okay, I'll partner with them?
Yeah. So one of the biggest things is, what is their mission? Like, is it focused on building community and changing the world and having an impact? Like, are they purpose driven? Does it a lot of them directly align with our mission of improving mental and physical health? We said no to, this is a random example, but like a really big fishing tournament, because no offense, but it was a lot of older dudes. And, our target audience is, 25 to 45-year-old women that are like busy working moms.
Right.
And so we do a lot of female events, a lot of like supporting women, other women-owned businesses.
Things are going great. And at the same time, the growth is coming fast at you. It's all, what is your why on the days when nothing is going according to plan? Because we've all had those days. Best laid plans, and then, so what keeps you going through all of that? Aside from, of course, having a huge swig. Double fisting those crunchy hydrations.
Shotgun and crunchy.
There you go.
I would say, thinking back to who I was living in LA and that moment of darkness, I know that right now I'm not even close to that. I've evolved and grown so much and healed. But when I'm having my worst day, I know that someone is in that spot where I was, like struggling with anxiety and depression, not wanting to wake up and live. And I keep going because hopefully they find Crunchy and it makes them feel even a little bit better. So that's kind of,
because it's really more than it's not just a beverage company. It's really a movement.
Yeah.
In a sense, it seems like. Well, what advice would you, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give your younger self?
I would say you don't need to spend $1,000 on supplements to be happy. Would say take a breath, spend less money, and there are so many free solutions to help you feel better, sleep better, and just, simplify your life. Like, look internally, not externally.
Yeah, that's a great one. And finally, I often ask this of guests. What does advancing mean to you right now as a woman, as a founder, as a leader?
So advancing to me means moving forward with purpose, like not just more and growing, but growing with purpose and meaning and making an impact in the world. Like, are you changing lives and doing something that is going to not just advance and grow yourself, but advance and grow the community at large?
Right. And then last one, I often do this. It's a way I make decisions. When I find myself sort of facing a choice and I'm thinking, and oftentimes for me, time is incredibly, incredibly valuable. And so when I'm trying to figure out what to do or how to spend it, etc., I will sit back and take a minute and say, okay, when I'm sitting on that rocker and I'm 80 years old out on the porch, which will bring me greater joy? So when you're on that rocker and you're 80 years old and you look back, what do you imagine your what do you think you'll be saying to yourself in terms of your greatest contribution?
Ooh, I like that question. I'm gonna need to think about that. Okay. Well, just a side note, I really can't wait to be 80, 90 years old. I've got the outfits picked out in my head. They're really fun. Like they're bright colored and like the outfits are going to be great. So I'm going to be in a really bright, funky, weird outfit, like on that porch, rocking away, thinking about how challenging every decision I made was, but so glad that I did it because I made a difference in the world and I, broke generational curses, healed myself, changed other women, empowered other women, funded other women's businesses, had a successful exit and made a name for my, future family.
That's amazing. So, Megan, where can people find? I know just some of the bigger places that may be familiar for folks. It sounds like Whole Foods, Kroger's.
Whole
other
Foods,
parts.
Kroger. We have right now, I don't know when this is airing, but we're doing for the next 2 months a really big saddlebag promo at Kroger, 2 for $4. Like right when you walk in every store, you'll see a big display. August 11th, we're launching in all the Food Lions. So that would be a good place to grab it. There's some really good spots in Charlottesville. If you go to drinkcrunchy.com and the locations or like find Crunchy, you can put in your zip code and it'll show you all the spots.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh my gosh. Well, I have loved watching you grow as a founder and a leader in the community. And also literally bringing to life what a business with purpose can look like. Because, so often people feel, if I do, a purpose-driven business, that means I'm going to have to suffer and profit. And it's really not true. In fact, there's a lot of research that shows the opposite of that. But it's so great to have such a strong example of someone who's making it happen. So thank you. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. And I think back to what Seth, who started Honest Tea, said, and he sold it and started, just iced tea, but he was like, build a business that you love and you're doing it with intention and purpose. You could run it forever, but when you run it like that, you are going to be successful and you're going to have an exit and you're going to, be able to help more people. So keep doing what you're doing, guys.
Yeah, no, it really is true. And I think as a founder, do you think it'll be hard for you to let go of your baby?
100%. It is my baby and it's become, part of my identity. But, I think that's part of building something great is, if the opportunity comes, which I'm working on, partnering with a bigger company that could help us get to the next level, I know that we'll be able to further our mission even more. So it's letting go of that ego and realizing again, like why you started it and making a decision that makes sense for the company because you're going to be able to impact more people and grow the business even more.
Yeah, exactly. And also, heck, okay, if you've done it there and you've made it to that point, perhaps by letting go, it's going to open up this incredible pathway for something even bigger in terms of impact.
Who knows what's next? I mean, what business are we going to start, Kate? I don't know.
I know we got to get on it, damn it.
What are we going to do?
Seriously. Okay, so bye, that's done. But so thank you. I always get so enthused when I sit down with founders like Megan Riggs. Here are my 3 KB takeaways. One is, think about it. She had this really dark, dark time. And so often I have learned that what we're facing in the dark, as it were, not to get too juju, but hold on tight. We're going to go a little bit there. So often the dark side can be exactly what leads us to the light side, an extraordinary opportunity. So when you find yourself in a situation that either didn't turn out the way you thought, or it's just so bleak, ask yourself, kind of have to be well rested, but still ask yourself, wow, okay, what am I learning and what's the good part about this? Like if I really were honest with myself, what's the good part? Because if you think about it, it's exactly what Megan did. She went on and took a dark time, personal time, and ended up building out a product that is helping so many people on mental levels and on health levels. So I think that's extraordinary. I think the notion of there's so much pressure when you are a founder to grow, scale, money. Mm-mm. I think wiser is to take a look and take a step back and think about, growing with purpose and moving forward with purpose. Why? Because it'll be more sustainable. You may not have this big, huge windfall right out the gate, but you have a greater likelihood of actually continuing. And that long term, I guess it's kind of the Warren Buffett effect in a way, where it's, the long tail, the duration. That's really going to be what's greater achievable and really going to help those around you in a greater way. Don't do it alone, founders. Do not do it alone. I know it's so easy or that it's tempting because you don't want people to take your ideas. Be smart about it, but ask for help when you need it. Seriously, because it can really make the difference between you falling and crashing and burning or saving yourself from many a near wrong turn. And lastly, community is everything. And next thing you know, you'll find yourself not actually building just a product, but actually a movement and a way of life. So let me know what you think. And look forward to talking to you and hearing your thoughts on our next Women Advancing.
Thanks for listening. May this episode inspire you to move forward. Be sure to go to iTunes, Spotify, katebyrne.co, that's KATEBYRNE.co, or wherever you listen to your podcasts and listen to even more episodes. Here's to strong women. May we know them, may we be them, may we raise them. Be sure to meet them on the next Women Advancing. Ta till next time.